done it again. I wasn't ready. I don't know why it keeps doing this starting automatically thing. Anyway, since you're here, hello and welcome to episode 98 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse. This is Poppy, my co-host. Oh, you've woken her up. She's not very pleased. You going to say hello? No, she's not apparently. Okay, sorry to disturb you. Right. I'm all a bit discombobulated now because it started without me. The first thing I wanted to tell you about is a Sockalong. Not that I'm running, but that Alex from My Yarny Corner, Karen from Stitches and Jack, and Jeanette from Crafty Clegg Creations, I think, they are all running a Sockalong to coincide with Eurovision in aid of Ukraine. It starts today as I'm recording this. Today is the 9th. You'll be seeing this on the 10th or afterwards. I'm going to link the video where they explain all about it down below. There is a hashtag for you to enter on Instagram, which I will try and put on the screen. But basically all you need to do is either knit a sock by a Ukrainian designer or knit a sock in blue and yellow, which are the colours of the Ukrainian flag. It finishes on the 31st of May, and by the 31st of May you have to post a picture with your foot in the sock or socks, whether it's finished or not, in order to enter. I bought some patterns. I bought a bundle of 3 patterns. One of them is these. It's the cherry blossom socks. You can't see very well. They're by Vicky Morose, who is D19 Eco-Friendly Life on Etsy. The pair I wanted to knit was this pattern, but they were short socks. And then I saw that there was a bundle of 3. This one, spring, something spring. I might as well just get them out and look, mightn't I? Rather than giving you, oh no, I've put them away. I've properly put them away. Anyway, there was a bundle of 3 socks. One was retro and they've got sort of diamonds on. Then there was this something springtime, and they're lacy. There are lots of different bundles, but a lot of them had thicker cabley type socks in, and I wanted some springy ones. So I bought the bundle of 3, and I'm just going to knit these as short socks. So I've cast on this morning. I've dyed myself up some yarn, which is blue and yellow. I took inspiration from the blue and yellow of the flag, and also the sunflower, which is their national flower. I'm going to show you. There is another skein, but this skein is for a prize for Alex and the others to give out. So this is what it looked like before it was wound into a ball. So the blue and the yellow patches, and then the yellow patches have like the sunflower seeds and what have you. Not for sale, for a prize. So I just did 2, one for me, one for the prize. Balled it up, and I have cast on and knit 2 rows of ribs so far. So there's not a great deal of that to show you. However, I seem to have cured my sock mojo. My missing sock mojo has returned, and the cure appears to be DPNs. I can only explain it as the balance of my mind being disturbed, because I've done nothing for 2 years but harp on about how much I hate using DPNs. And I don't know what put the idea into my head, but on the way to the hospital last week, Dave allowed me to nip into the yarn store and I bought a set of DPNs. I've since bought another 2 sets because I'm enjoying knitting socks on DPNs. I can't explain it. Is it a menopause thing? I don't know. So we might as well carry on with the sock theme, mightn't we? Those, obviously, there's 2 rows of rib to show you, so not a lot. I have cast on some other socks. They're in this bag. It might give you a clue as to what socks they are. The pattern I'm using, loosely, is the Austin socks by Eyelet, who's the crazy sock lady. These will of course be linked down below. And these are to enter into Denise's knit along. Denise's year of the sock. And I've got all in a tangle. So I have this much so far. It's quite a nice pattern. The pattern repeats go very quickly because you're doing something different all the time. I knit this up. I did the cuff in the first repeat on Friday morning and the rest of it on Saturday. So knitted up very quickly. I think I've got 2 and a bit repeats to go before I do the toe, and then I'm going to put in an afterthought heel. The pattern itself has a heel flap and gusset, but as you can see, this is stripy yarn. Let me turn it over. This is my Astral Journey colourway, and clearly inspired by Star Trek. The red, yellow and blue of the, I was going to say costumes, uniforms, and then I'm adding black in West Yorkshire Spinners Licorice, cuffs, heels and toes. So I didn't want to put a heel flap and gusset on and disrupt the pattern because it's micro striping really nicely. So afterthought heel it is. I quite like an afterthought heel. The needles that I'm using are Knit Pro Zings. These are the 2.25 and these are the Ukraine socks I'm doing on a 2.5. They are probably the nicest DPNs I've ever used. I'm told by other people it's a bit hit and miss whether you get a nice pair or a not so nice pair. I seem to have been lucky so far. Yeah. So I have high hopes for getting my May socks finished. Denise's prompt for May is Star Wars or Star Trek. I did dye up both colourways. I don't know if I'm going to do a Star Wars sock. I might, but I'm definitely, obviously, doing Star Trek. My April socks have not fared so well. I still haven't finished the first sock. It's another Eyelet pattern. It is Rhinebeck Roomies and the yarn is by Denise. I'll show you the sole of the foot, you can see it better. It's Easter Pastels from Denise and the April prompt was Easter. So I'm hoping to get them finished, but it won't be in time to enter them for April as it is now the 9th of May. But it's pretty, the yarn is so pretty, the pattern is pretty, I enjoy the pattern. But something about Magic Loop is not doing it for me at the moment, I don't know why. I don't really want to put these onto different needles because in case there's a tiny discrepancy in size, it might just mess it up a bit. So I'm going to persevere. That is my sock news. You might have guessed I've got something finished. I finished my Stephen West Shawl, the Eyelet Burst. It's enormous. I actually finished it 4 rows short because I was worried I wasn't going to have enough for the cast off. I'm going to put a picture in here. This is it unblocked, but I just laid it out on the floor so that you could see its size compared to a 2-seater leather sofa. It's quite large. Don't look at the mess. I have kind of blocked it. I just gave it a little soak and then I just laid it out on blocking mats, just really to even out the stitches. I didn't want to stretch it because it's garter and it is so lovely and squishy. I finished it, put it on, and then wore it for the rest of the afternoon. Inside out, I'd like to point out, but you can't really tell. I've left the little, where are you? That's where I was last time you saw it. And I cast it off while I was watching the coronation. So it did take me quite a long time to do those last few rows. That was Saturday, and the last time you saw it was the previous Tuesday. Took quite a while. They were very, very long rows. You will have noticed on the picture that they just go on forever, these last rows. Right, just in case you haven't seen it before, the yarns I used, there are 4 of them. The tonal pink, the striped turquoise, and the multicoloured speckled turquoise, they were all my own yarns. This was the April colourway, the other 2 were just playing. The last one, this lovely turquoisey green, was from Amanda at Little Lycat Yarns, and she dyed it up specially for me for Christmas. I have quite a bit of that left. The other colours I had an average of 10 grams, I'm going to say. Some were a bit under, some were a bit over. Average 10 grams left. This last one, I've got a little bit more left. Oh, hang it back up there. I've got this much. Because I bottled the last 4 rows, I think it's probably about 20 grams. Let me measure. You can see, actually, this is the right side. So you can see the stripes quite clearly. This is the wrong side. And in some ways, the wrong side looks even better. The way, because it's garter stitch, the way the stitches lie, it's wearable either way. Luckily, since I wore it inside out. Yeah, 22 grams left. I don't know that would have been enough to do another 4 rows. They are extremely long rows. But, yeah. So that's all finished. It will be linked down below, and you've probably seen it before. It's the Eyelet Burst by Stephen West. And, well, I think you can see how large it is. Bearing in mind how large Stephen West is. I mean, he's well over 6 foot. It's big. But it's probably the most comfortable shawl I have ever worn. Probably because it's garter, and so it's got some stretch and some bounce. It doesn't fall off my shoulders. I put it on wrapped around me, and it was just so comfy and warm. I wanted to cast another one straight on. That's how much I enjoyed it. Bearing in mind I'd just gone through the trauma of the great long rows. So that was my finished object. I'm very happy with it. I am genuinely eyeing up colours to do another one or 2. My new system I talked about last week. I had overwhelmed myself with projects and consequently cast on 2 new pairs of socks, but that doesn't count. My new system was working really, really well. I've concentrated on my summer sorrel sweater, which I'll show you in a minute, summer sorrel tee, and this. Now that this is finished, I'll start working on the Pagona shawl. I haven't touched that since I showed it to you last week, so next week there should be quite some progress on it. My summer sorrel has been going very, very well. Let me show it to you. I am close to splitting for the sleeves. I've faded in the next ball of the next colour. I wanted the colour on its own. This is where it was when I showed it to you last week. And I've knit all of this. So this is the sum total of 2 weeks work on it. And it's very pretty. It reminds me of meringue with strawberry sauce or something. It's a shame I'm going to have to pull it all down after I finish showing it to you, isn't it? I don't know what I've done wrong. I've reached a point in the pattern where, where's the picture? I don't know if you can see from the picture, but you have these columns, and at a certain point, don't want to give too much away, you finish every other one, so you have a shorter column, and you continue with the others, so you have a longer column. So it goes long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, all the way around. Well, I did that bit last night, and I have got a space and a column extra. So that means that at this point on the sweater, I will have long, short, long, short, long, short, 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 long, short, long, short, long, short. Well, I can't leave it like that, can I? I don't know how it's gone wrong. I genuinely don't. I spent quite some time looking at it yesterday. I was on Zoom at the time. The other ladies were making suggestions, and I've got more stitches than I should have. But the obvious thing would be to say, well, you've increased too much at some point. But everything, the stitch counts as I go along, have been perfect all the way along. So I can only say that right back at the very beginning, I added in an extra column and then proceeded with that extra column and the gap between it and the one next to it for the whole of the work. And there's no fixing that. There's no fudging it. I honestly, I've laid in bed last night thinking, well, what if I sewed that bit over there so that I got it sat on top of the other column? I could just sew it over. And then if I did it really, really carefully, I could just chop that extra bit of fabric out. That's not going to work, is it? A cunning plan, but no. So I'm going to have to put it right back down to the beginning. I won't lie, I'm a little bit frustrated. My rocket tea went wrong, and I said, right, I'm going to concentrate on one thing at a time. Admittedly, when I cast this on, I wasn't doing that, so maybe that's where the problem lies. But I swear, if I knit one more thing and it goes horribly wrong and it's all my fault, I'm just going to give up knitting altogether. I wanted to set fire to things last night. The ladies wouldn't let me. They called Dave to come and take my lighter away, which I thought was unkind. In all seriousness, I wouldn't actually set fire to things. It's just my level of frustration. So I'm going to have to pull it down and begin again. And I think I might make a smaller size, because do you know I can do this, because I'm gonna pull it down, aren't I? Right, don't be traumatized, it's coming off the needles, okay? If you can't cope with that, don't look, because there's no point leaving it on there. It's got to come down. So we're just going to take it off. While I'm doing this little ball filled with stars was from Denise at Dear Designs. She's got some more in stock. Well, she did have. They might have all sold out. They're so pretty. I love them. Right. Oh, there are an awful lot of stitches. That's a lot. On a positive note, my gauge was spot on. So there's that. Oh boy, this is taking a long time to come off. There are nearly 500 stitches. So I think I might have been knitting too large a size anyway. But we're going to try it on in a minute and see. That's Ewan creaking about. I do apologise. Right. It is officially off the needle. Let's see, that's the centre back. Let's prop it on. Yeah, that's too big. That is much too big. Even if you imagine I've split for the sleeves, I think that's way too big. And the collar or the neckline, as I suspected, is going to be far too big. So I'm going to go down. I might even go down a couple of sizes, because it's quite a thick top and I don't want it to look... It's a summer top as well, so I don't want it to look all thick. It should. If you look at the lady on the pattern, hers is very much opened out, isn't it? Well, this is sitting on me. I'm going to wear it like this, like a ruff. I'm trying to remember which period of history they wore all the ruffs. I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to wear it like this. I'm going on Zoom after I've spoken to you, so I shall show the ladies that it's too big, and then I'm just gonna consider it a giant gauge swatch. My gauge was spot on, but I've cast on too large a size, so better to find out now with only 2 weeks worth of work in it than cast it off, put it on and go, oh no, it's too big. So yeah, we're gonna come down a size or two. See, I think that would look better. That's 6. I've taken out 6 of the columns, and if you imagine another 6 at the back, I mean, it's not perfect, is it? But yeah, much smaller size needed, I think. Okay, that's everything I had to tell you. It's a bit disappointing, isn't it? I'm sorry to end on a now I'm going to pull this to pieces note, but there's no fixing it. And now that I see how much too big it was going to be, I'm still a bit frustrated, but I'm not as unhappy as I was, because I would have hated it when it was finished, and there's no point, is there? So back to the drawing table. Is that the right word? I'm going to start again with what size I'm going to knit, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah. But the fade was working out really, really well. And it was picking out the colours in the first colour, the first yarn that I thought maybe I'd done too pale. It's all coming out quite nicely. So there we go. A success. 2 successes really, if you consider the fact I've found my sock mojo. And a bit of an never mind. Tomorrow's another day. So I'm going to go. I know it's a short one today. I'm sorry. They're going to be short until I get my act together and stop casting on so many things that I can't concentrate. And oh, I will just tell you, because a lot of people wished me well, last week's hospital appointment went very well. Apart from the fact that I had to have a blood test, the lady was a little bit over efficient. Before I had a chance to tell her that I'm allergic to the tape that they stick the cotton wool on afterwards, she'd already stuck it on me. And by the time I peeled it off, I have on the inside of my elbow a square that looked like sunburn that then proceeded to peel and is still looking kind of scabby. I'm sorry, it's not a very nice word. 5 days later. So I now carry those little tiny round plasters in my bag to stick on it myself, and I will try and be swifter in the future. I've had so many blood tests over the last few years. I've always been a bit sensitive to the adhesive on the hypoallergenic stuff. Ordinary plasters you can stick on me till the cows come home, but the hypoallergenic ones I react to. And I think I've had so many blood tests, hundreds of blood tests over the last 4 years, that the skin on the inside of my elbow has just had enough. And it says it's probably quite a delicate space anyway, isn't it? Because if you're testing hair dyes and things, you're meant to test them behind your ear or on the inside of your elbow, I think. So yeah, it's probably quite sensitive skin, and it's had enough. It says no more. So yeah, that was the only downside of the appointment really. Everything else went quite well. So just got the one in June to stress about now. Never mind. We're not going to start stressing about that already. So, sorry it was a quick visit today. I will see you all next week, hopefully without anything that needs pulling down. That'd be good, wouldn't it? It'd make a change. Anyway, take care guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.